Hey everyone, welcome to the Underswell. I'm Derek Sabori. Thanks for being here. All right, and our countdown is done. I am here with Santiago Forero Vega, and I was just saying, Santiago, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Derek. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite. Sure, we're gonna have fun.
We're gonna have fun. We're gonna have a great conversation. First, I want to know how your day's going and where are you calling in from? Because I know you're not local to where I'm at. You're not around the corner.
No, not around the corner, definitely. Right now, I'm in Bogota, in Colombia,
Okay.
my hometown, home country. And yeah, the day's been going great. Work as you would expect at this time of
Mm-hmm.
day. We're
Mm-hmm.
still a little bit ahead of your time, but still a few hours to go.
Nice. What's the time difference? I didn't even check. What's the time difference to Bogota from California
Couple of
here?
hours ahead. So
Couple of hours.
it's almost 2 p.m. here. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Besides work, what's keeping you busy these days, Santiago? Because we're going to dive into your path, your career, kind of what you're working on right now. But I like to get a sense of what else is keeping you busy. What are you doing in your spare time, if you've got any right now?
Well, not a lot of spare time, if I'm honest, but I did just spend a couple of weeks in Europe traveling with friends and family. One of our high school friends got married in Turkey, so
Ooh,
very nice wedding by the Bosphorus, amazing time, and then some family time in London. So kind of that digital nomad life, work in the mornings, sightseeing in the afternoons. But yeah, just came back this week.
well, welcome home. Had you been to Turkey before?
I had been before, actually 10 years ago. So it
Okay.
was a great experience. It was like got to see the city with a different perspective, not
Mm-hmm.
so touristy, more walking around, see what I found. So yeah, lovely time.
And that was about the time, it was about probably about 10 years ago as well that I went, maybe more or less right about then. And it was great. I went to Istanbul and it was different than I expected and thought. And it was a really memorable, amazing trip. So sounds like an exciting one for you.
Yeah, it was.
Well, Santiago, I always like to mention how my guests and I connected because I really think it often, tells the story and the power of connections and just getting out there and meeting people, doing things, going to events. Our connection, though, came through the Sustainability Professionals Network. Todd Copeland of Copeland Consulting, who I need to reach out to and have on the show. He introduced me to Jennifer Bookop at Qantas, who was at Qantas, and Jennifer introduced me to you. So here we are. But let's start there. How important has networking like that or this been for you?
I'll be honest, networking's very hard for me because I'm really an introvert or at least a
Mm,
shy guy.
okay.
Uh, but I've learned to value it, to take my head off it too much, uh, because things like these happen. And it's
Hmm.
certainly there's always someone who knows something you don't. There's always someone who knows somebody you don't. And after all, I think we're all here to work or help each other out and make things work. So getting there, getting a little better at it. But yeah, one of the things I love most about networking is you get to steal a little bit about the virtues of everyone you meet. So where it be at work or friends or whatnot, everyone's got great things and great attributes or personality traits or so on. Some of them you can mimic, others you get inspired by them. So yeah, it's always lovely about meeting new people.
I like that way of looking at it, this idea of kind of taking the attributes and in a way, it almost seems like a selfish way of approaching it, right? Because networking sort of has this weird, kind of connotation to it. But if you think of it in terms of I'm going out there to get a little bit, but if you go into it as well, knowing that you have to give a little bit to get, which I know you would do, you're always going to be sharing and giving insightful advice. But it's just about connecting, yeah, and to your point, learning from others and helping us all move forward together. So I think it just sometimes we just need to look at it through a different lens, right?
Let this be a great opportunity to thank Jan for introducing us. I think this wouldn't be happening, of course, if it weren't for her.
That's right.
Really great professional sort of relationship that we built together at Qantas.
That's great to hear. I have a chat with her again next week, so I'll follow up. I'm gonna try to have her on the show as well. She was quick to say, "Hey, I've got somebody great for you." So I'm glad we're connected. When we first met, this was a few months ago. You were launching ThinkSID. It's a consulting agency, your company that would help make sustainability really a performance driver for business rather than, as it typically can be, an add-on and cost center. So maybe tell me a little bit about the progress you've made, who you're targeting and working with, maybe how it's going, just get us caught up to speed on it.
Yeah, well, in short, I'd say we're still in sort of full service design mode, very early stage, trying to pilot what we're doing, getting our heads around, are we a little bit too crazy or not?
Mm,
And that especially the last couple of months have been a constant conversation on how do we clean what we want to do and that core message of what we're doing. And I think we're getting there. I think a very brief context for anyone listening is traditional ag has been great for mankind. I don't fight or push back against what it's done. I think it would have been very hard to feed all the people we are if
hmm
it weren't for the practices, but it's increasingly evident that things need to change. And change is very hard when you're a farmer.
mm,
Here, we'll probably dive a little bit more into this, but I also work with my family in avocado growing, a little family business that we've set up. So I really started to feel that pressure on, yes, I'm working in sustainability. Things need to change. And at the same time, having the responsibility of managing an ag business and realizing how the hell do I do this?
mm,
Everything costs money. Everything
yeah.
costs time. There's risks associated with that. And so stemming from that self sort of reflection and insight, we decided that we want to aim to help farmers globally address productivity challenges as in yield with sustainable practices. So
Mm,
a very, very specific issue, because if I'm honest, even if you're doing well, your productivity can always be better. And there's always different practices that you can sort of integrate in your operation to push that frontier further.
yep.
And once you push your productivity further, you're going to make more money. And if you're conscious about how you invested money, your profits are going to increase in the end. So it's a very pragmatic approach
hmm
to it, but it all starts by how do we address that aversion to uncertainty that's so natural in farmers. And our hypothesis is that farmers need really strong plans on how to make these changes happen. And that includes how much is it going to cost me? What
hmm
do I need to do? What are the action items? What do I need to buy or contract or actually do? And they don't have all the time to build these plans. They spend their time farming. That's what they do. That's what they should be doing.
Yeah.
So let us, as ThinkSID, come on board, help you build these plans, help you connect you with the right partners to make things happen, and start de-risking that implementation of change. Kind of a change management, very, very specific to sustainability in agriculture.
Mm,
So that's what we envision. That's what we want to test. And right now, I think it's a great timing. Probably next week we'll be piloting the first version of that service and product that we're building. So yeah, if there's any farmers in the audience, it would be great to get in touch, or if you know of anyone. Here we are jumping off the cliff, seeing if things work. Terrified, but very excited because we truly think we can make this happen.
yeah, and that's sort of the entrepreneur's dilemma, I guess, is that being terrified, being excited, knowing there's a problem that you can solve, and really going after it. Why do you think? I mean, there's plenty I think written on this, and that's out there. But I want to get your insight into this. Like, why do you think are farmers adverse to that change and getting the help? You say because you said just because they're so busy, they're worried about soil health and weather and getting their crops grown and getting those, and turning a profit and getting things sold. Is it just because it's an old system What's the hesitation you think to try to get help in sustainability like this, or this type of approach that you're selling?
These last days, I've been thinking a lot about that, and I don't know, people really or can't get their heads around how hard it is to change something you've been doing for 30, 40, even 50 years.
Yeah,
And then the world coming at you and saying, you need to change the way you do things.
right.
You need to stop using chemicals. You need to do this. You need to reduce your carbon emissions. And it's not easy. You know, everyone in business in general, not only farming, will make any sound decision to improve their business.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always this balance between risk and return, and your risk aversion or how risk prone you are on do you move forward with them or not. But I'd like to make a parallel because I think there's something everyone is feeling right now, and that's the threat of AI coming after your job.
Oh,
It's somewhat similar.
yeah.
It's sudden change in how you do things, and you need to you need to learn AI skills. You need to learn how to automate. You need to be a master at prompting if you want to remain sort of relevant at your company.
Mm-hmm.
It's a similar feeling when you think of sustainability in farming. And just as with AI and everyone's work, you need to be smart. You need to be pragmatic in how do you embrace that challenge. So I think that really it's a matter of dealing with uncertainty,
Yeah.
not having the guarantees that any proposed change will work as it does. You'll probably hear more stories about people who tried organic products and they failed at controlling pests, for instance, than those who made it work. But
Mm.
there's a lot of learnings in those who made it work. Why did it work? What did they do differently? And in many cases, it comes down to it was a more structured approach. It was a calculated risk. They started small and started to scale rather than changing their whole operation. And they start to build on those results.
Mm.
So I think that that's sort of uh, where the resistance comes from. Also, an analogy to help people understand why it's so hard. But at the same time, how I see the solution sort of coming up from past experiences of many farmers globally who have already made the change, saw the benefits, and are moving forward with it.
Well, let's speaking of, kind of looking back and the experience that you've had, I want to take it all the way back and sort of get a sense of how you got into this line of work because, as we spoke and as I read your LinkedIn bio, you started in design science after receiving a business degree. So I know, a lot has happened since then, but maybe walk us through it. I'm interested to kind of know what the catalyst, I guess what your pathway was sort of after graduating, why you went into that, that discipline. And then when does the family business come into it and what was the catalyst for getting into agriculture? So those are a few things, but maybe take me back to design science, what that was and what you were thinking and where you were headed with that degree.
I think that even before design science, there's an important sort of or a couple of important milestones in my career. The first is I'm a business major, never loved it, but valued the program
Mm-hmm.
for its usefulness. But after I graduated from college, I worked at a financial services holding group. So they had a bank, a construction company, and an insurance company. And I had the privilege, honestly, to work with their innovation sort of division.
Okay.
And this innovation division worked for all three companies at the same time. And my particular role was building prototypes for new products and services. So I came from a business background and
Mm-hmm.
discovered the world of design
Ah,
thinking,
yeah.
UX, writing, and user research, and all of this. And that's the first moment where I shifted my sort of wiring in my head and
Mm.
understood that human-centered design is a major thing. Anything we do for humans. So we need to put humans at the center and try to everything that we create, never lose track of that. And I love that. And I decided, you know what? Let's go out and become an actual designer. That
Hmm.
was the trigger to travel all the way to the University of Michigan to this design science program because it had this sort of blend between design thinking and engineering. So more quant approach to design that what I was used to. I always love numbers, not that I'm too great at them. I just find them fascinating. Mm. And it was a terrific experience. But at some point, I started realizing, you know what, I'm not learning as much as I expected to be learning by this point. Uh, and roughly at that time, I was already involved in this avocado business. So I was helping my dad all the way from Michigan, running the numbers, the records, everything we needed to meet certification requirements at the avocado orchard, and found this sustainable food systems certificate, which is kind of a minor for master's degree.
Okay.
And I said, well, but this sounds interesting. Got into that, and what I found is that there's a lot of problems with the food systems. And if
Hmm.
you're a designer, that's actually good news because that means there's work to be done. There's things that need to be solved. And that was a major sort of click in my life where that business background, my experience with innovation, somewhat consulting, and also the agriculture side in me, got sort of or blended together with this design sort of approach. So I loved it, got very picky and decided to stay in the States, find a job that allowed me to combine everything. It was tough times to find jobs. Really not as hard as today though. And I had like 15 unemployment days left before I had to return to Colombia because I couldn't find anything. And
Hmm.
that's when Qantas happened.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
and that's where I met Jan and a lot of amazing people. I think it's a great company, and to me, especially a great school, because I got to see with one hand, I was growing avocados in Colombia, and with the
Hmm.
other, I was working with the largest food brands in the planet on helping them achieve their sustainability goals and their corporate sustainability strategies.
Yeah.
So it became very clear to me that there's a huge disconnect, not because big companies are evil and they don't want to do things, they don't care about farmers. It's just it's such a complex system that it's very hard to sort of make the strides that we know need to be made. So I think that's uh, a rewind on my career, the different places where I've been at. There's also this during my master's program, I did this internship with Agritecture, which is an urban ag consulting company based off New York, but they do things globally.
Hmm.
Also a terrific company. Uh, my role there was very product sort of oriented, but a lot of what I learned there is what I'm actually using today for to build ThinkSID. So it's been a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I won't say it was planned. I think it's more of the exploration of a bunch of things that's gotten me here. But yeah.
And I love that. That's something I'm really fascinated by is just sort of that non-linear approach where you just sort of go from one leap pad or stepping stone to another and you figure, oh, this takes me over to here and there. I'm really fascinated just by, as you said, as you've brought it all together, but sort of the business with design, with engineering, and solving solutions and food and systems thinking. Like you've really got a nice holistic, I think, sort of approach to tackling problems and addressing business. Well, how did you get the job at Qantas? What was it, how did that come about? Was that through a connection or was it just sort of a cold call? You saw an ad? What was it?
It really came down. I was very frustrated because I was applying in hundreds of sites, never hearing back.
Mm-hmm.
So I used this sort of stop doing the same thing and expecting different results. And I tried something different. I came up with this little image, kind of an even summarized version of my CV, and I had like, here's what I'm good at, here's what I could do at your company, here's some of the skills I had and some of the achievements. And I sent that to a guy who was working at Qantas at the time and who was a UMich grad as well.
Okay.
And I
So
said,
you
hey,
used your
Mark,
alumni network. There we go. And your design
exactly.
thinking.
Maybe I'm not as bad as I thought on networking,
Yeah.
but I sent a message and I said, hey, I don't know if a role like mine would be of interest. And he was incredibly sort of graceful and said, actually there may be something. Let me ask around. And he sort of directed me to apply for a project manager position. Then that sort of helped me join the application process.
Mm.
Had a couple of interviews with great people. The food and bev US lead, Kendra. I remember I had a first interview with her, kicked it off right away. Great sort of match, I think, on what I wanted to do, what they were expecting, and yeah, fortunately for me, things went very well.
Yeah, I love that. I think I do a lot of alumni engagement with my alma mater as well. So I think there is a real power that I think not those that don't take advantage of their alumni network don't necessarily realize the power that's there. And I think you just showed it. And I think it's a good reminder to stay in touch with those hundreds of thousands, if not millions of alumni that are at the, part of your alumni network for where you went to school. You also, though, did a little bit of work in green finances, or you studied. And I'm also really interested with your study abroad in Hong Kong.
Mhm.
Before I move to what you're doing with ThinkSID, I want to go take that a look at that as well. Look back. How important was that study abroad experience for you?
It certainly was major. I think that there's uh before Hong Kong and after Hong Kong in my life.
Mm,
I remember I think I was the only Latin person at sort of the university program or exchange program, and silly things like I was forced to speak in English constantly. My English was good, but it got dramatically better.
mm-hmm.
And but I remember things like this happen, like little experiences. But biggest takeaway is it really opened my mind to the world. My group
Yeah.
of friends, a bunch of French people, Portuguese guy. My roommate was Bulgarian, amazing guy as well. And it forced me to sort of get out of the nutshell, uh, try new food. Many times I had no clue what I was eating.
Mm-hmm.
Tasted good enough. Um, got to travel a lot around Asia, China, Philippines, Vietnam, Cambodia. Uh, it was a terrific time. It was only a few months, 4 or 5 or 6 months, uh, but a lot changed in me after that
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, it sounds transformational, and that's what I always hear. I'm really hoping that my kids, we've kind of always told them, go do a study abroad, go do a study abroad. So fingers crossed, I hope they do. I'll take that story and share it with them. Let's take a quick break. I want to come back and get some advice from you for people that are kind of in the same line of work or want to build a career like yours. So hang tight. We'll come right back and I'll get some advice from Santiago. Talking with professionals like my guest today is always inspiring, and a reminder that more of us need foundational sustainability knowledge so we can help our brands and companies continue to grow and profit in the most sustainable way. What do you think? Does your team have the confidence and competence to work in and contribute to this exciting space? I often find that the answer is, well, not yet. That's why, after more than a decade deep in the sustainability profession, I developed a set of courses and trainings to do just that. The School of Understanding is a self-paced online sustainability course made for professionals and brands who want to catch up and keep up with the expectations of today's marketplace. If you're not fluent in the language of sustainability yet, you're falling behind. So let's fix that. Enroll yourself or your team now and get caught up in the exciting opportunities that are being created in sustainable and profitable business. All right, well, welcome back. I'm here with Santiago Forero Vega. He's founder of ThinkSID and co-founder and chief strategy officer of Escocia Haas avocado farms, family agriculture business. So welcome back. Santiago, how did you know it was the right time to go out on your own? A lot of those of us that are, entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, it's a big decision. And sometimes it's because, hey, this is the best path forward, or it's something you've always wanted to do. But how did you know the time was right? And had that always been in your mind to go out on your own and build something on your own?
I have no clue if it's the right time, to be honest. Uh, and I'll be fully honest, it's the combination of something that was in the back of my head, but it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't necessarily an intentional decision at the time
Mm,
or circumstantial. Uh, Early 2024, there were some process problems with my student visa in the US. Things went south for me. My work permit was denied, and I was sort of forced to return to Colombia.
mm,
That's why I had to stop working with Quantis. Probably uh, that definitely wouldn't have been my decision to walk away, but life happening.
yeah.
Mm, and when you sort of receive a shock like that, I was living the dream life with my girlfriend in New York, having the time of our lives, and that suddenly we lost that.
Mm,
So you start feeling like there's no floor uh, on your feet, and instead of sort of being too tragic about it,
yeah.
I started thinking, what if this is the time where I actually try to do something of my own?
Yeah.
That employee to to business person shift. And it started like a very draft idea, but it started to become real when when I did this sort of visualization exercise. Do I want to be 40, 50 years old, look back and say I had the opportunity and I didn't take it?
Yeah.
And that started to terrify me.
Mm-hmm.
Like the disappointing my future self definitely was probably the most important trigger. And just go ahead and do it. If you fail, or if I fail, I don't lose so much. Probably some money that'll hurt. Probably some time or things that I could do differently. But look, it's been only a few months, and I already learned probably more than in 3 or 4 years
Yeah.
of my past life. So uh, I still don't know if it's the right time, but I really hope it is. In a way, and that hope is also coming with the willingness and the availability to put in my entire life into this. Work as hard as I've ever worked on something. It's kind of this thing's mine now.
Mm-hmm.
Things are not going to be done if I don't do them. Uh, and the only thing holding me back from that is myself. So huge responsibility, but one that I think I'm starting to learn how to take and maneuver.
Yeah. And I just think you, like you said, you've learned so much in just a few months. You just really strike me as somebody who is always learning from whatever you're doing, wherever you're at, whatever
Mhm.
experience you're in. You're going to take away the lessons from those experiences and just keep moving forward. So I'm sure no matter what, this is going somewhere or will be the next stepping stone to your next thing, no matter what. So I think it's all good and positive. You've mentioned a few times, what the scare, that it's scary, and that we just is the scariest part just sort of the uncertainty of it all, of being an entrepreneur building something, feeling like the floor could drop out again on you at any time, or what's the scariest part? Or really is it just a matter, is it a mindset? We tell ourselves that it's scary, and maybe it doesn't have to be.
I hadn't thought of that, but I like that. I
Mm,
think my response was going to be something like it's it's a self-imposed sort of scary feeling.
yeah.
Because when you look at it fully objectively and from a rational point of view, if the downside of it is as low as it is for me in this particular moment of my life, there's no rational reason to be scared. But I think the what scares at least me the most is that idea, or facing the idea of failure, so in such a raw fashion. It's like it's right in front of me. If I don't make this happen, it's on me. And I need to
Mm,
learn how to own that. And there's of course minor worries about, if this doesn't work, what am I gonna live off? And then that also goes away. Like, I think I've been uh, a high performer in my career. If I try to get a job, I won't say it's easy, but I'm sure something could come out.
mm-hmm.
So every bit of that scary feeling has its own mitigator. But
Right.
what's really hard to shut down completely is that idea of, am I good enough? Will I make it? Will I not make it? I think it's part of the ongoing working process on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the most meaningful learnings that I'll take from this process. But that doesn't mean that because I understand it that way, I don't feel it. It's that
Right.
balance in between. I know it's there, good days, bad days, and just keep
Yeah.
moving forward.
Just
Whatever
keep
you
moving
do,
forward.
keep moving forward.
And I love that. That was always something that I really was excited about in going out on my own, was just that idea that as you said, the losses, if you when you make a mistake, they're your loss. That's on us, right? But if you win, then the wins are on you as well. So it's like we take full ownership for the wins and the losses, the mistakes and the successes. So it's an exciting time for you. When it comes to your business, I do really like the approach, and that's, it resonated with me when we first chatted. The approach you're taking in sustainability consulting. I want to know, we had a conversation right before we jumped on here, but just how do you see the industry, sustainability work changing? You're coming at it from a really pragmatic approach, which I think is really great. Is that sort of because things have changed so much? Is the space changing? The expectations are changing? Is this a shift just based on the time? Or is it a shift that you've been having your eye on for a while? Talk to me about pragmatic sustainability. Maybe that'll help get to the answer that I'm looking for.
I think that before getting to that pragmatic sustainability bit, maybe too much attention was paid to sustainability. When you look at a business, generic business, there's operations, there's finance, there's technology, there's marketing, there's
Mm-hmm.
different business functions that need to very, very closely work together to make that business work. I think that because the climate crisis is such a big thing, too much attention was paid to sustainability, and in a way, too much weight was put on its shoulders. And it promised to be sort of the saving, or the silver bullet to how things should change.
Mm,
And I think what's happening right now is more of a balancing, sort of things getting back into a balance where operations, technology, sustainability are all equally important. And that's a major shift because it requires companies to embed sustainability in ops,
mm-hmm.
in technology, in marketing, in procurement, in all of the different functions. And that sort of levels the ground for all functions to speak the same language, which is revenue, cost, profit, risk. Uh, that's the way it works for anyone working in ops or in
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
And and I think that's where things are starting to migrate to. And I don't actually see that as a bad thing.
Yeah.
I
Agree.
think in the medium and long term, that's the way the more sustainable practices will actually get the proper funding and so on, because it's not out of desire that things are done, but out of the ambition and willingness and capacity that organizations have. So in light of that, I've started using this pragmatic sustainability term. and now even being more precise about it, calling it profitable sustainability.
Mm.
Because I think if you try and do less, but highlight the business value of what you're doing, you're gonna start forcing yourself to speak that language.
Yeah.
Uh, just as one of the I published earlier through ThinkSID's LinkedIn page, a case I found fascinating about this bird farm in Vermont. Uh, Big chunk of their expenses was grain feed for for their birds, and they dared to think differently and say, what if we do composting and feed our birds sort of a mixed diet that includes food scraps, and then we do something with the remainder of that. Well, they're now a business. I don't know their numbers, but certainly they seem like a big part of their business comes from selling this vermicompost, sort of worm castings and soil amendments
Mm-hmm.
on top of their core, let's say, business, which is selling eggs. They shared this project and their results, and they went from having a loss from the same unit of measure of like $1,600 to a net profit of $9,000.
Wow.
So yes, they're doing sustainability. They're
Yeah.
doing vermicompost. One of the things I love most, it's literally having the whole nature system work into how to improve soil.
Yeah.
They're using that with a very strict business lens. They're improving their core operation. They're reducing their costs because they don't rely as much on grain feed anymore. And it's so in the end, it makes sense from almost any perspective, from an ops perspective, from a management perspective. And I think that's a paramount example of how people in sustainability should be thinking about it.
It's 100. I'm 100% with you. And I was just going to sum that up with, and that's profitable sustainability, right? It's like you've created a new revenue stream. The tough part is, I guess, and that's why we have the importance of also trying to quantify that sustainability initiative as well to show, what the benefits are to soil health or waste reduction, whatever it might be. But I think that's another conversation. But I think back to when I first started doing sustainability, or early 2000s, trying to change culture at the organization. We knew that sustainability in the long run should be more efficient and there could be some savings involved, but it was rare that we approached it from, hey, this is going to save us money and create new revenue. I mean, I don't know. I really appreciate this switch in the conversation and putting that first. And I really like what you just did, in saying profitable sustainability. I guess I wish if I could rewind 10 or 15 years and say, this is the department we're building. We're building the Department of Profitable Sustainability. To your point, it really would have narrowed the scope on what we were doing, because at that point we were just trying to do everything that had a great story and that was the right thing. But we saw that a lot of those things didn't survive over the long term because they were really cost centers and they had great stories and maybe some marketing, and you hope that they all added up. But as a CEO or a COO or a CFO who's pressured with keeping the business healthy, those things weren't always helping. And until they're all integrated and part of the same system, and we're all being measured across all of those things: operation, innovation, revenue, sales, and sustainability, then we're not going to get anywhere. But it sounds, I think this approach is great, and I'm hoping that others will see the value in it and jump onto it.
Me too, definitely, because my future depends on it. But yeah, I would add one thing, and the measuring sustainability chapter is huge, nuanced, complex, because it's very new.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
CO2 equivalents became this sort of uh, at least terms that everyone agreed on and normalized sort of the conversation. But I think unfortunately it created this carbon tunnel vision where if you generally speak about sustainability, first thing people will think of is emissions.
Right.
And that's a huge part of the problem, definitely. but it's like that's the tip of the iceberg. When you start looking what's below the water with emissions, you start finding, oh, it's the practices. Then how do I change the practices? And what matters most about the practices? Minimizing emissions, or like Black Dirt Farm in Vermont did. They managed to transform their business, new practices, be solid, make sure they will be existing over the next 10 and 20 years. And
Mm-hmm.
of course they'll be reducing emissions, and they'll be fixating or sinking some carbon. So I think it's when you shift what you're looking at, you really start to uncover what you can change. And that sort of goes back to the beginning of this conversation, where changing is hard, especially if you're not looking at the right things that you want to change.
Mm.
And that to me was probably the biggest disconnect. I briefly talked about this with food brands and farmers. Corporates have to have this sort of carbon emission reductions. There's this targets that they need to set and so on.
Yep.
And if that water falls directly to farmers, then that's a conversation farmers don't even care about. I'll
Right.
be dead honest. I work in sustainability. I do want to change things. But if someone came to me and said, "Are you reducing the emissions at your avocado orchard?" I'll say I don't even have a carbon footprint. It doesn't even make sense for me to calculate my
Mm.
footprint. What makes sense to me is, what if I start using biochar to improve my soil? It's a very powerful soil amendment, and we're actually starting a pilot on that right now. That's going to be uh, beneficial for my business, for my
Yeah.
company. And then it's got the added bonus that I can probably emit some carbon credits, or that I can uh, reduce our carbon footprint. And that's a story I'm willing to tell. I
Right.
used biochar to improve my soil, which led to increased productivity, and it also helped us reduce our carbon footprint. But if my goal is to reduce my carbon footprint and I forget about running the business, in 2 years' time, there's no avocado business.
That's
And then
right.
probably someone else buys the farm and emits even more. They just take the trees down, go back to cattle ranching, re-increase
Mm.
the emissions in the farm. So that's the power I see in changing or challenging the narrative a little bit. I don't think that it's my way or 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 the highway, but it's definitely a perspective that I've begun to find a lot of value in.
Yeah, and I think it's a perspective that I think is catching on. And just today we were talking about conversations that we were seeing on LinkedIn. I think it's a narrative that is starting to happen. So I think you're trending and you're going in the you're onto something here, Santiago. So I wanted to get some advice from you. Before the break, we were talking just sort of about your philosophy on profitable sustainability and kind of taking this different approach where we are really integrating sustainability into the business, making good decisions, using sustainability as a business driver, not just sort of an add-on for good storytelling. But I want to know, for people that want to get into this space, what advice would you give to somebody who's either looking to put a career together like yours, they want to get into consulting, food systems, sustainability, in agriculture, going out on their own? What does it take? What have you found that it's taken for you to put a career like this together?
I think in my case, and this is probably very personal, it's taking
Mm.
time invested in finding what you really want to do. Not everyone's purpose driven, and I'll start
Hmm.
there. I know I am. But if someone is purpose driven, then that's where you should spend almost most of your time in your early career years. Because to me, over the last 5 years, that's changed two or three times. But I now finally see in this project or in ThinkSID sort of the culmination of that initial process in my life of, what am I good at? What 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 do I like? What moves me? Where do I think there's space for me? And sort of answering those questions
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to do that is doing stuff. That's not only sitting in your bedroom looking at the ceiling and thinking, what am I good at? It's trying things and finding out what you're good at. It's
Yeah.
having conversations with people who think differently than you, who challenge you to find out, they may be right, or definitely I can't even think like this. And that's fine. It's sort of that finding yourself kind of process uh, that I think has taken me here.
Mm-hmm.
And the outcome of that is that I'm very confident in who I am and what I'm able to do right now. Even if I have no clue of will this work, will this not work, that there's just too many factors in that.
Yeah.
But at least I've got that foundation. And I think that's very important. Seeking that foundation, especially in early careers. And I think that applies to anything. It doesn't matter if it's sustainability or not, if it's consulting or not. The world has become this amazing place with infinite possibilities. You can work in different countries. You can try different jobs. Uh, Sometimes you don't even need experience to try one thing or the other. Degrees aren't as determinant and as they used to be.
Mm.
So don't be afraid to change, to explore, to dare a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you? Yeah, I like that you just pointed that out with your with the degrees because I think young people do kind of get caught up on what's my major going to be? Do I need what job will I get? So what advice do you have for somebody who is in that younger phase? They're either just graduating, they're trying to decide if that's the right major for them. They're thinking that they have to go get a job in that field right away. Yours was a little bit of a winding path. So what do you say to those people who are on that in that part of their journey?
I'd say degrees are probably one of the things that least define you.
Hmm.
And
Even though it feels like everything at the time.
it feels like it's crazy that at age 17 or 18 you have to sort of choose what you'll do for the rest of your life.
Mm.
And that's the way usually you approach. That's the way I approached it back then. Mm, so yeah, I guess my advice would be don't worry. It truly matters a lot less than what you think it does. That's not to say go out and do whatever, it doesn't matter, but um, remember there's always do-overs in life. There's changes
Mm.
in paths. Probably different if you're trying to become a doctor, but still, you can always use 10 years of your life, even if you're 30 and want to change careers. But uh, yeah, I'd say don't worry about it. There's more in life that will worry you. Spare your worrying capacity for those later years.
That's good advice, I think, and we'll wrap it up here, Santiago. I got a couple more things that I want to get out from you, though. Are there mistakes that you've made, or maybe we better phrase those as lessons that you've learned that have really stuck with you, or that you would want to pass on to others in terms of like, hey, here's a sinkhole to look out for.
Although unintentional, I think one of the mistakes I made earlier on in my career was choosing the same degree or career as my dad and my sister.
Mm.
Lasted a year. After a year, I had a crisis. I still liked what I was learning, and that's why I moved from industrial engineering to business management. Kind of similar, but different. Because that added a lot of pressure on my shoulders, and it was self-imposed pressure.
Yeah.
Uh, so I guess that definitely would be one. Mm, and probably the second one, which has been constant in my life and goes back to networking. I think being shy has made me lose a lot of opportunities to meet great people.
Mm.
Uh, not going out to a certain meeting or group, not participating in more uh, college organizations or things like that. I think I probably would have enjoyed them and also would have met even more great people along the line.
Well, it's never too late to make up for that, right? You get back in, go back to your
Well,
alumni
I'm on a
network.
podcast now, so I
Exactly.
guess that
Look at you. Look at you.
that's
Well, I think
compensating a bit.
that's right. It's great advice, Santiago. Thanks so much. Well, let's wrap this up here so you can. I know you got a lot going on, so maybe I'll just leave it open ended for you. I like to do this shout out or call out kind of opportunity where I just give you the mic here for the last few minutes, and anything we missed, anything you want to leave, somebody you want to give a shout out to, or something you want to call out. I'll give you the last words here to wrap it up for us, and then we'll close it out. So the mic is yours.
Thanks, and let me start by thanking you for this time. It ended up being very very fun. I was hesitant at first, but now I'm very glad that we did it. And thanks, yeah, for providing this space to share my thoughts. I don't know if they're right or not, but they're sort of the construction of over the last years. Shoutouts would be definitely to that I've had multiple sort of people I've looked up to in my different companies. Probably won't name them, but in general, that leadership figure that I've had at Quantis, at Agritecture, at Grupo Bolívar here in Colombia, they've shaped a lot of who I am and what I do right now.
Mm,
They all know who they are, and for that I'm really really thankful. And every time I have the chance, I just remind them of that.
mm,
I like to be very explicit about that because I've been tremendously fortunate in life in general with every single sort of aspect of my life. So let this also be a moment to share that gratitude with them, my best wishes to them, but also to you, to your podcast, to your entrepreneur endeavors. I think what you're doing is great. Really appreciate it, and yeah, I think that would be it on my end.
Oh, well, thank you for those kind words, Santiago. Thanks for the insights, sharing a bit of your journey. I know there's a lot more in there to unpack, so I'll leave the links here for people to follow along with you at ThinkSID. Connect on LinkedIn, because it sounds to me like you're opening yourself up for more networking and more events and getting out there. We got to market your business and your all your services. And I just really appreciate your way of thinking. And I think you've crafted a really interesting career. And I know there's still a lot to do for you. So best of luck. We'll stay in touch and I'll follow along with you. And hey, mostly thanks for carving out time to be here with us.
Thanks to you, and have a great rest of your day and weekend.
Sounds good. Thanks, Santiago. Hey, everyone. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what you heard, be sure to check back weekly, subscribe to the show, and if you want to be featured on the show, come hit us up at theunderswell.com. We'd love to hear from you.